Flash cars, tough guys, and lots of cool lines. For over 24 years, the Fast and Furious franchise has stood for pure adrenaline, incredible stunts, and above all, family. We have accompanied Dom Toretto and his crew over the course of 10 movies. Now the series is heading toward its finale. With Fast X Part 2, the series is supposedly finally coming to a close. And so, there's a lot of talk. What can we expect in the final installment? Who will be back this time? And is this truly the end? We'll bring you up to date, so fasten your seatbelts. Here comes all the information you need. Whether Fast and Furious 11 really remains the grand finale depends heavily on the box office results. Actually, a trilogy was planned for the conclusion, but after the moderate success of Part 10, Universal Pictures is probably not willing to take any risks. However, if the new part performs well at the box office, the distributors certainly will not rule out further movies. In terms of story, Diesel reportedly wants to get back to the roots. Less world-saving, more down-to-earth action on the streets, hopefully with 1 or 2 quarter-mile races. Actor Jason Momoa has already promised more traditional racing action, something he felt was missing in Fast X. That would not just be fan service, it would be smart too. It could keep the budget in check. Over the years, the costs associated with the film series had continually risen. Part 9 already cost $200 million, Part 10 a whopping $340 million. At the same time, there was a drop in box office revenue. The last movie, for example, was already a financial tightrope act, with box office takings of around $705 million worldwide. Movies often have to earn 2 to 3 times their budget in order to be lucrative. For Part 11, the budget is therefore expected to be reduced to a maximum of $200 million again. It's still a lot, but significantly less than last time. We are interested in finding out in which areas we will see the savings. Dwayne Johnson announced another spin-off film in 2023 called Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Reyes. It is supposed to be a sort of transition between parts 10 and 11. This would at least be one way of removing the role of the villain from the action within a smaller movie before the big finale. However, we haven't heard any news about the project since the announcement, so if it is indeed meant to segue into part 11, production ought to start soon. Vin Diesel also brought another project into play, likewise a precursor for the final film in the saga. He had already directed a short prequel for Part 4 with Los Bandoleros. Now he was asked whether he would do another such short film. Diesel hinted at a possible desert setting. They had already filmed in the Middle East for Part 7, but had never returned into the depths of the desert before. If you ask us, it's highly unlikely that these spin-off projects will actually be realized, especially before Part 11. They sound more like mind games to gauge fan reaction. The biggest priority right now is probably the conclusion of the big saga. The studio's cost-cutting measures also speak against another casting option. In an interview, Diesel wanted Oscar winner Robert Downey Jr. to play the new antagonist. According to the leading actor, he could play a rich tech mogul who believes in AI-controlled vehicles, in stark contrast to Dom's human family mentality. But this casting will probably remain wishful thinking. Downey Jr. is of course very busy with the new Avengers movies at the moment and is definitely anything but low budget. So the question of who the villain will be is still entirely open. Despite all the rumors, the cliffhanger of Part 10 naturally suggests that things will proceed with Dante Reyes. Yet, the casting problem could be one of the reasons why things have gone oddly quiet around the production in recent months. Nevertheless, there are some ideas as to how this problem could be solved. The ultimate question is, what does a definitive finale mean for the main series? We can see one possibility in particular. Dom Toretto dies in Fast and Furious 11. That would be an emotional shock, but also a fitting conclusion in some way. Dom has always risked it all for his family. A heroic exit would suit him. So, after the end of Paul Walker's character, Dom's journey would also come to an end. And the numerous other characters could still have their separate adventures, just outside of the main series, like Hobbs and Shaw. This series is known for its, meanwhile, huge cast, and even if someone happens to disappear, they tend to reappear a few movies later. A big talking point for the ending of the Fast and Furious saga is, who will be the villain? In Fast X, Jason Momoa impressed as the crazy villain Dante Reyes, a true highlight for many fans, but a return is currently doubtful. There are rumors that film distributor Universal Pictures is considering to replace him with a new opponent. There are mainly 2 reasons for this. Firstly, Vin Diesel was reportedly unhappy that Momoa was stealing everyone else's show. Disputes behind the scenes are nothing new to the franchise. Just think of the feud between Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. On the other hand, there's also the cut in the budget. Those responsible behind the scenes are probably wondering whether they can even afford a star like Jason Momoa. After all, there are already a lot of other well-known names that need to be paid for, such as Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson. However, there are no official confirmations regarding the cast at the moment. The director of Fast and Furious 11 is once again Louis Leterrier, who has already taken over from Justin Lin in the previous movie. However, a lot of time has passed since the release of Fast X, and filming for Part 11 is still a long time coming. A theatrical release in March 2026 was originally under discussion, but experts are doubtful. A blockbuster of this magnitude needs at least a year's lead time, and filming has still not begun. Leterrier himself has already given a new release date, June 22, 2026, exactly 25 years after Part 1. So, what's the problem? Reacher star Alan Ritchson spoke to Screen Rant about it and said, "One of the biggest challenges that the franchise faces is that you've got a lot of guys like Dwayne and Vin and Momoa and myself, and everyone's super busy." Well, Vin Diesel at least posted a picture from the set back in November 2024. While there were probably just initial test shots, it nonetheless signals that something is happening. The actor is known for skillfully beating the drum on social media. In April 2025, he urged Universal Pictures to finally announce the release date for the new film on Instagram. To us, this seems a little as if the actor is trying to exert pressure on the reluctant film distributor and win the fans over to his side. As we said, public shaming is nothing unusual for Vin Diesel. The 11th installment is officially titled Fast X Part 2, and therefore stays true to the series' quirky approach to coming up with a new spelling for each sequel. March or June 2026 are still being considered as potential release dates. But to be frank, we don't think the movie will be out before 2027, and we'd be genuinely surprised if it was. But the current plan is to start filming in Los Angeles in the summer of 2025, so let's hope that production will finally get underway. The chaos surrounding the supposedly last Fast and Furious movie is perfectly on brand for the whole franchise. Bigger and bigger, more and more. And in the end, we wonder, where is this supposed to lead? On the one hand, the franchise continues to provide us with wonderfully crazy spectacle. On the other hand, the eternal mantra of family has increasingly degenerated into a running gag. For the finale, we hope the series can really shift down a gear and remind us where the journey once began. Hobbs can simply take care of everything else. Or Shaw, or Reyes. After all, there are plenty of suitable spin-off candidates. What are your hopes for the film series? Is it time to move on? Or would you welcome further movies? And are you more into the street-level action of the first parts, or do you enjoy the over-the-top lunacy of the later movies? We can't wait to read what you think.